got a question if you love me like Kiki. I ain't going out to cop another three-piece. Second album, no, I'm coming on the 3P. Blessings coming, son, the PO like C3. Cause you see me when it buzzing, drop the free throw like CP. Never losing, no, you coming with the clean sheet. I've been running every day since you free me. Never leave me, no. Cause I'm on my way up. Don't trust what I wait, yeah. You're not miles away, no. Cause my freedom been paid for. Ain't got nothing to say, no. Cause you love me the same, oh. When you move, I be moving. You run through it like Drano. Cause you never change, yo. I'm consumed by your grace, oh. You come through every day, oh. I trust you while I wait, oh. You will always have my devotion. I am overwhelmed by your goodness. I ain't even barely put my toes in. Devil thought he had me roped in. You defeated it forever, now he frozen. I be kicking demons out the way now. Now and up forever, I am chosen, yeah. Cause I'm on my way, yeah. Don't trust what I wait, yeah. You're not miles away, no. Cause my freedom been paid for. Ain't got nothing to say, no. Cause you love me the same. Never change, yo. I'm consumed by your grace, oh. You come through every day, oh. I trust you while I wait, oh. I trust you while I wait, oh. I don't need My God isn't finished yet. If he did it before, he can do it again. So I'll trust him with what comes next. Cause my hindsight says I can count on this. My God isn't finished yet. If he did it before, he can do it again. So I'll trust him with what comes next. For the God I know is known for faithfulness. Yeah, my hindsight says I can trust him with what's next. For the God I know is known for faithfulness. When night has fallen, when fear is coming, still you're calling me. When faith is lost and my hope exhausted, you will be my strength. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. Yeah, I've decided I'm not giving up. 'Cause you won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo in my soul. In every season, you keep repeating promises to me. Whoa. Now there's no stopping what you have started until it is complete. When my mind says I'm not good enough, God, you're enough for me. Yeah, I decided I'm not giving up. You won't give up on me. You won't give up on me. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. I feel it breaking out like an echo. Your love is holding on and it won't let go. No, I feel it breaking out like an echo, echo in my soul.
Looking around me, seeing all you've made. I'm staring right into your eyes. All of a sudden, all my problems fade. They run away in your light. You're there inside my questions, you're there inside my pain. I'm filling up my lungs with your name. I'm counting all my blessings, no matter what I face. And at the end of the day, I'll be singing with the angels, with the angels. Oh, I'll be singing with the angels, with the angels. How could I stay inside my brokenness when I get a glimpse of your heart? I'm holding on to all your promises, and you pull me into your arms. You're there inside my questions, you're there inside my pain. I'm filling up my lungs with your name. I'm counting all my blessings, no matter what I face. And at the end of the day, I'll be singing with the angels, with the angels. Oh, I'll be singing with the angels, with the angels. I'll be singing holy, 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 holy. I'll be singing holy, 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 holy. I'm counting all my blessings, no matter what I face. At the end of the day, I'll be singing holy, 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 holy. I'll be singing with the angels, with the angels. Oh, I'll be singing with the angels, with the angels. I'll be singing holy, 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 holy. I'll be singing holy, holy, holy.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. Oh, you have been so, so kind to me. Oh,
coming after me.
Solace here. Come on, who are broken. No judgment here. Don't matter what they think about you, what they think about your past. Don't matter what they say about you, what they say it won't last. Do you believe?
You stepped into my darkest night with freedom sparkling in your eyes. My shadows fled, the dancing light, all that was dead came back to life. It's greater than guilt, louder than shame. This reckless love will never be tamed. Your passionate heart can never be bound. Demons will flee and heaven will shout. Nothing is as strong as your love. Nothing is as strong as your love. It's crazy, it doesn't stop, it doesn't end. Your love's for me, it's not against me. It doesn't stop, it doesn't end.
Love like I'd never known it before came rushing into my soul, chasing down my heart before I called. Greater than a feeling or earthly joy, you never fade, won't let go. Jesus, you're the love my heart longs for. Unshakable love, there's no fear, no need to run. perfect love. You defeated my shame, clothed me in grace. There's nothing that your love can't break. Oh, my sin lost its hold, fear lost control, bowing to your perfect love. My heart, my confidence is found in your love, unshakable love. There's no fear, no need to run. I'm found in your love, unshakable love.
I'll give you what I have and nothing less, heart and soul. We'll never ever stop. You can never be praised enough. You can never be praised enough for all you've done to show your love. We lift you high. Higher, 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 oh, 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 higher, 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 higher. I'll never ever stop. You can never be praised enough. You can never be praised enough. The darkness has no place. Your love will light the way for all you've done to show your love. We lift you higher, 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 oh, 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 higher, higher, above the noise, worthy of praise. No other name, God, we lift you higher. In all the earth, we will proclaim. In everything, God, we lift you higher, 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 oh, 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 higher.
Papers all over the table. Wonder what I should do next. Now that you gave me what I wanted, I want something else instead. And it feels like a vicious cycle, and I'm always wanting more. Take a second to remind me, there's nothing else worth living for. And now I can't seem to remember what I wanted, 'cause nothing seems to matter except being with you. Yeah, I can't seem to remember what I wanted, 'cause much I matter to you. Yesterday my eyes deceived me. Guess it happens frequently. Made me wonder why we only believe in things that we can't see. My ambitions and desires built on what I think I need. Then you showed me you were higher, and you had better plans for me. And now I can't seem to remember what I wanted, 'cause nothing seems to matter except being with you. Now I can't seem to remember what I wanted, 'cause nothing seems to matter except how much I matter to you. Nothing seems to matter, 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 nothing seems to matter except how much I matter to you.
Oh my God, a consuming fire. Spirit fall, reveal your power. Make your majesty and glory known across the earth from heaven's throne. The nations quake, the mountains shake, dead hearts come awake at the power of your name. All heaven bows, the earth cries out, our God, He is undeniable. In your presence the darkness fades. With the whisper the storms obey. Just one touch and the shadows leave. By the power of Christ our King. The nations quake, the mountains shake, dead hearts come awake at the power of your name. All heaven Never really cared to think that you really cared for me. I thought life was better on my own. Never thought you'd stop and wonder. You made a million colors, and now you're thinking about me. I know that it's real now, this love that I found. You're holding my heart through my ups and my downs. Jesus, my fortress, you're calling my name. I'm calling out yours. You make me come alive inside, and I can't breathe with you by my side. You are mine, love is calling me, coming alive, yeah. Jesus, you call me to life, and I'll never leave at my side. You say you want me, I'm yours. I'm coming alive, whoa. Holding on to you forever, these worries, they don't matter. You take my hand, you give me peace. Don't have to be concerned now, your plans are perfectly out. I wanna follow where you lead. I know that it's real now, this love that I found. You're holding my heart through my ups and my downs. Jesus, my fortress, you're calling my name. I'm calling out yours. You make me come alive inside, and I can't breathe with you by my side. You are mine, love is calling me, coming alive, yeah. Jesus, you call me to life, and I'll never leave at my side. You say you want me, I'm yours. I'm coming alive, whoa. You make me come alive inside, and I can't breathe. And you are mine, love is calling me, coming alive, yeah. Jesus, you call me to life, and I'll never leave at my side. You say you want me, I'm yours. I'm coming alive, whoa.
Throw off the weight, let my heart run wild. Leave it behind as you take me high. I'm holding on to everything you've done, all that you've done, all that you've done. You go above and beyond. You are my hope, you go before and behind. Wherever I go, you are the start and the end. You're in control, you got my heart in your hand. I'll always know you you take me higher, higher, higher. Above and beyond, you take me higher, higher, higher. You go above and beyond. You are my hope, you go before and behind. Wherever I go, you are the start and the end. You're in control, you got my heart in your hand. And I'll always know you go above and beyond. You are my hope, you go before and behind. Wherever I go, you are the start and the end. You're in control, you got my heart in your hand. I'll always know you got me. 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 You got me.
I wouldn't say I would've chosen it. That time I hit the bottom and it hurt a little bit. Funny how being down can make you look up, but now I'm better for it. All I could see in the moment was my heart and how it felt ripped open. I'll admit I found you down low in the brokenness, and now I'm better for it. I count it all as joy even when I'm in the fight, 'cause I know you always give me grace when I need it. Hindsight 2020, now I see that you let me be what I've been, so I can be all that I am. You give me faith to believe that when it hurts, there's a real good reason. You let me be what I've been, so I can be all that I am. Better for it. I used to think pain was a consequence, but now I kinda think it might be the perfect gift you use to get me straight to you, and I'm better for it. I count it all as joy even when I'm in the fight, 'cause I know you always give me grace when I need it. Hindsight 2020, now I see that you let me be what I've been, so I can be all that I am. You give me faith to believe that when it hurts, there's a real good reason. You let me be what I've been, so I can be all that I am.
you can see tomorrow. Can you show me where to go? 'Cause I don't know, but you know, you know, you know. I don't know, but you know, you know, you know. I don't know, but you know. Looking back at my life, you never let me down and you've always been by my side. Constant like the high tide and the sunrise. I give it all to you and I know it will be alright. 'Cause I'm on the edge of the future and I can't see the way, but you can show the way to me. Throwing my worries off to the side, I just wanna trust you, only trust you. I don't know, but you know, you can see tomorrow. Can you show me where to go? 'Cause I don't know, but you know, you know, you know. I don't know, but you know, you know, you know. I don't know, but you know. I
I was far from you. You spoke the word and broke the space between us. And now there's nothing that your love won't do to mend in me every piece that's broken. Now I'm on my way and I won't look back. I found a grace that's one of a kind. There's nothing else that can take your place. Open my eyes, show me what true love looks like. What love looks like. What love looks like. What love looks like. You're what love looks like. I found a love and it is here to stay. It has a home and love lives inside of me. And now my world has been forever changed. You took me in, giving me such purpose. Now I'm on my way and I won't look back. I found a grace that's one of a kind. There's nothing else that can take your place. Open my eyes, show me what true love looks like. What love looks like. What love looks like. What love looks like. You're what love looks like. Now I'm on my way and I won't look back. I found a grace that's one of a kind. There's nothing else that can take your place. Open my eyes, show me what true love looks like. Now I'm on my way and I won't look back. I found a grace that's one of a kind. There's nothing else that can take your place. Open my eyes, show me what true love looks like. What love looks like.
come on in, find a place, we're going to start with some worship.
Without your goodness, I would be desperate. Without your love, slave to the darkness. If it wasn't for the cross, you have won me with your kindness. Chase me down when I was lost. Where would I be if it wasn't for the cross? Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. I was a prisoner. Now I'm not. With your blood, you bought my freedom. Hallelujah. For the cross. All my shame and with mercy, now your mercy be my song. Oh, the glory, oh, the power of the cross. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. I was a prisoner. Now I'm not. With your blood, all my freedom. Hallelujah. For the Thank you, Jesus. I was a prisoner. Now I'm not. With your blood, you bought my freedom. Hallelujah. For the Thank you, Jesus. I was a prisoner. Now I'm not. With your blood, you bought my freedom. Hallelujah. For the cross.
Guys, thanks so much for coming. Welcome back. Happy start of the spring semester with 3.5 mountains of snow outside. Thanks for making it here. Say hi to someone. Say I hope you had a great break. And then find a seat. Thanks. Welcome back, Encounter! Hey, how many of y'all are ready to be back? Like you're ready, maybe not to school, but maybe you're here. You're ready to be back here. I am so excited to see y'all. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Phil, and I'm on staff here at Encounter, and we welcome you here. We're glad that you're here. We're just a bunch of crazy, normal people trying to figure out what a relationship with Jesus looks like, and we want this campus to know that Jesus loves them. And so we're figuring out what that looks like, and we want you to be a part of it. If you're new here, we know that it takes a lot of guts to kind of walk up those stairs and sit down and find a seat and maybe sit down to somebody next to somebody new. We want you to know that we acknowledge that, we see you, and we want to make this as easy a transition free as possible. So there's people that hang out by the doors, there's a welcome table right over there. We want to get to know you, we want to make sure you answer any questions you may have. Please visit some of those people, say hi, introduce yourself, and make sure you guys have a great experience here as much as possible. I get to share just a few announcements of what's happening these next few weeks, so just listen up. First things first, next Friday we have our guys and girls retreats. So super exciting. If you, this one's girls retreat, guys retreat the same night, cool logos and stuff. But Friday night, great opportunity for you guys to get away from campus a little bit and meet with guys and girls separately. If you're new to this place, it's an awesome opportunity to meet people. If you're coming back after maybe a hard break, you need some encouragement. Both of those nights, always for me, are places where I know people get encouraged, people, their faith gets deepened, and they're able to really start off the semester on a good note. So it is super cheap. There'll be more details coming out in the next week or two. Next Friday, keep that on your calendar. We want to get an idea about who's free, who's interested in going. So we have some clipboards that are ready to be passed. If you guys want to go ahead and start them on each one of these sides. They're both the combined, like guys and girls, so I'm not sure which one is first, but there's a page for guys and a page for girls. So go ahead and sign up on your respective one. We'd love to see you out there. This is an opportunity for you to sign up and get more information. We'll give you details and dates and time, cost, all that good stuff soon. Next Friday, keep that on your schedule, the 25th through the 26th. Price will be super cheap, and it'll guarantee be a good time. Next announcement I have is for the long haul. Spring break service trip. Super excited. We have 40 of you all in this room signed up, ready to go. Super excited. We are, as a staff, planning this trip out currently. We're connecting with people in different cities, and we're recruiting on campus. Really excited. We have info sessions pretty much like every week, every other week until spring break. So we want you to bring your friends, even if you're not going on this trip. A really good opportunity for you to say, hey, go on a service trip over spring break. It might change your life. Here's where a cool opportunity maybe lies in for you in this room if you're not signed up for this trip. We are going to start an Encounter wait list. Okay? So if you maybe if you thought about signing up and you didn't, or if you maybe now is like, hey, I could possibly go on the spring break trip, we're going to start a wait list. So if there are open spots, if there are open Encounter spots on this trip, we're going to fill it with you guys. So if you're interested, go ahead and email either me or Molly. Email's right up there. Shoot us an email and say, hey, I'm interested. Put my name in the list, and then we'll fill those up as necessary. So keep that on your radar. If that's something that doesn't apply to you, make sure you get that email out to us ASAP. The last thing I got for y'all is we are going to start our small group signups tonight. So we'll be doing those for the next few weeks. If you've never been a part of a small group before, it's amazing. I met my best friends in college in my small group, the guys that sit up with me in my wedding, the guys who are with me in some really cool and really hard times as well. And so this is a big group of people. There are hundreds of college students in this room. We want to make sure to give you guys an opportunity to do life and get to know a smaller group of people. So those of you who might be a little more introverted, those of you who might prefer groups of 8 or 6 or 10, this is a good opportunity for you to dig into the Word and get to know people and do life with each other. And so we need everybody to sign up again. Okay, so most of you guys were involved in small groups last semester. We're starting fresh, starting it over. So we need you to sign up, your time, your preference, all that good stuff. There are cards right underneath your seat. There should be pens there too. So go ahead and sign up. We're going to collect them at the end of the service. There'll be people at the doors as you leave to drop your card in. So make sure we get those in. Again, even if you've signed up before, even if you're leading a small group, whatever, we need all of your sign-ups to make sure we are setting those groups up well. And even if you have like a preference, if you want to be in the same small group as last semester, just mark that. If you have a preference of who you want to be with your leader, or your roommate, all that good stuff, just mark it on there, make a note, and we'll make sure to do our best to try to make that happen. So super excited you guys are back. Let's worship. You guys can stay.
Praise promises are yes and amen. Beautiful Savior, you have brought me here. Glory from the ashes, you have broken every curse. Blessed Redeemer. for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. Still in your hands, this is my confidence, you never failed me yet. I know the night won't last, your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again.
for today. Thank you for getting to be back in this place today, God. God, we praise you tonight. We thank you for your faithfulness. That's what we sang about tonight, God. We thank you for your faithfulness, that you're always there for us. You're going to continue to chase us down. God, pursue us tonight. Pursue us this semester. Pursue us this year in 2019, God. We love you. Thank you for your faithfulness, God. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Have a seat, guys.
Good worshiping with you all again. Anybody go sledding in the past 2 days? Oh, there should be more hands in this room. I'm a little disappointed with you all. Welcome back. My family might have had one of the most epic sledding days yesterday that we've ever had. It was pretty fantastic. It's not a good sledding day unless somebody almost dies, and that happened 4 or 5 different times at least. Sleds zipping past people who were trying to come back up the hill. We were kind of out in a wooded area, so there's tree obstacles and thorn bushes, and it was great. Just thought you should know that. If you're new to us tonight, we're so glad you're here. We have been tracking through the book of Acts. Our theme for the whole year is alive. And that's because there's so much life and transformation. As a matter of fact, if I had to boil the book of Acts into a word, it would be transformation. That's alive. We get to see the disciples who are absolutely transformed through the resurrection of Jesus and who he is. We get to see it, and when we talk about the church in the book of Acts, we're not even really talking about like Acts 1.0 church. We're talking about beta version of church. Like this hasn't been done before. Jesus hangs out with the disciples for 3.5 years. That's how long his ministry lasts. And then he leaves it to them and says, go do likewise. And so in the book of Acts, we see them struggling to try to figure this out. What does it mean to live like Jesus now? What does this look like? It's this crazy transformation. We see in Acts 2 and Acts 4, we talked about it in the fall, just bringing us all back in the same space. We see in Acts 2 and Acts 4 some of the most beautiful expressions of church that we've ever seen. People just laying their possessions down and loving on the poor and creating community and drawing people in, and they're worshiping together and depending on each other and praying together, giving their property away. They're focused on teaching of the word. There's just this sense of strong community, but it's not like a clique. It's not like something that's inward focused. They're changing this community. The community is transformed. We get that description in Acts 2 and Acts 4. But in the midst of all of that, there's also ugliness and brokenness and sin. Acts 5, Ananias and Sapphira. We have issues of people being persecuted and oppressed, them trying to figure out what leadership looks like. We talked about that whole all of that in 8 chapters of Acts. We talked about it in the fall. In the spring, it just keeps pumping. As we keep moving through these different chapters of Acts, mostly focused around the Apostle Paul, we continue to see this transformation. You guys, we have good stuff ahead of us this semester. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. Tonight we're starting a new series within that called With New Eyes. And that's just because for the next handful of weeks, a lot of the scriptures that we're going to be talking about, they deal with that, of God changing our worldview, helping us see him and the people around us with different eyes. And tonight I want to jump out of that a little bit, out of the Acts study. It's definitely within the tone of Acts, but I'm not going to use the text of Acts because there's something important in my heart that I want to put out in front of you tonight. And it actually starts with a story I can tell you from just a few weeks ago. Joe and I and Phil, actually, we went down to Orlando for a conference, for a fundraising conference in mid-December. And we were just there for the conference was a 2-day thing. So Phil had to be back right away. He went down there for 2.5 days and flew home the second we were done. Joe and I stayed for a couple days, partially because it was 74 degrees there, and it is not 74 degrees here. But also because her grandparents live pretty close to that. And we haven't seen them in a while. They've lived down near Orlando for a really long time. They used to come up every year, and we would see them every year. The names are Mike and Audrey. And they because their health has gotten a little bit worse, they're in their I guess around 86, mid to late 80s, and so it's hard for them to make that trek. It's a long trek from Orlando to Central Illinois, so we don't get to see them very often, and we don't know how much longer they'll be around to see. So it's like, while we're down there, we're absolutely going to spend the night with them, get a chance to catch up with them. So Audrey's this sweet old woman who's small and talks soft. Mike is probably not your typical, if I say grandpa, he's probably not the stereotype that you have in your head, all right? He's kind of this strong, wiry, 86-year-old dude who's got kind of spiky hair, spiky silver hair, and most of his shirts, he's usually got like unbuttoned down to here, and he's rocking a better tan at 86 years old than I will ever have in my life, okay? And that's him. He's just kind of cool and tough, and that's Grandpa Mike. So anyway, we go to their house. You guys, I don't know how many conversations you have with people who are in their mid to late 80s, but death is a part of the conversation all the time, okay? And I'm saying that partly to be weirdly funny, but also that it's also partly true. That's just the practicality of conversation with an 86-year-old man or woman, because when they're telling stories, we're asking questions about their siblings, and it's like all kinds of stuff. They're talking about vacations. A lot of these stories end with, yeah, but she passed 2 years ago. Yeah, but he's gone now. But yes, we were great friends with them. They were a part of our church. We do card nights for the last 10 years, but he passed away a couple years ago, and she's not doing well. I'm talking about in their daily reality, death is just a practical part of the conversation. Okay? These two people that I'm sitting across from, I mean, they've picked out headstones. They're headstones that have their names written on them, on their grave spots, with birth dates, but not expiration dates, right? There are no expiration dates yet for them. But they know it's coming. And that genuine, it's not a morbid thing, it's the practicality of we don't want our kids to have to worry about this. And so, as we're talking through this with them, and again, I don't mean it in a weird way, I just mean death is a normal part of the conversation as we're talking with them. And Joe and I know that they go to church, but we don't know 100% exactly where they stand spiritually. And so, we're not pushing on any doors hard, but we're asking questions and we're talking through this stuff. And as we're talking about death for them, one of the things that we were talking about was, it's amazing how the conversation about faith changes the conversation about death. It does not have to be all fear, because I kind of know what's on the other side. Like there's joy and hope that's waiting, okay? And so we're having these conversations with them, and Mike lets loose with this little sentence, okay, where he says, I don't know, it's sure going to be hot where I'm headed, okay? That's the phrase that comes out of Mike's mouth. Now these are the kind of things that he says, and he's at least 40% joking, but it's out there. And so that gives me a little bit of social permission to walk through that door. And I know that they go to church, I know that they know about Jesus, and so I get to say in that moment, well, hey, Mike, it's one of the cool things with Jesus is that we know that we're in. He takes care of his sheep. He gathers his people. We know that for people who follow Jesus that there is a hope and a future that's laid out in front of us in heaven, And I'm just starting to walk through that door a little bit, and then he says this. And this is not 40% joking. He says, I don't know. I've done a lot of stuff in this life. I've done a lot of stuff in this life. And he kind of sat there. And it was really cool, because then we get to walk through that door. And that door it's not a hard one. Theologically, I don't have to be a theologian to explain that one. And it's like, hey, Mike, I know that you know who Jesus is. And it's an all or nothing thing. You get free grace through Christ. It doesn't matter how large the stack of sin is. You can't be good enough to earn it. You can't be bad enough to lose it. When we accept Jesus' grace, we are forgiven. Whether that pile is large or whether that's small, it doesn't matter. Because that grace covers all of it. That was his whole purpose. That's the whole message. And so I can't tell you that I said it in a crazy, eloquent way, but I was able to speak out in front of him this thing that I know that he knew. That the gospel of Jesus Christ changes us forever. And it's cool to talk through that with him and to hear him react to it. You guys, it's the reason that we're here. It's the reason that we're here in the room tonight, because the love of Jesus Christ does something to us. It transforms us. It moves us into being something that we weren't, that we couldn't have done on our own. It's not about you taking a different medicine to be a slightly better person. It's about a heart transplant that God does from the inside out. I want to remind you of that as you start a new semester. That's the business that we're in here on this campus. That's the business that Jesus came to do. Now, to maybe take a sideways jump here, the identity of God and who he is really hard for Grandpa Mike to grasp, because God is holy and God is just and God is righteous, and he's the warrior God. You know, he's big and he's fierce and he's powerful. The Jews had this same aura of God. I mean, coming out of the stories of the Old Testament with Moses and Joshua and God revealing himself in fire. So you have a holy God who must be angry and who wants to punish, and that's this picture that they have of the coming Messiah. He's coming as a warrior. And tonight, what I want to remind you of is that when Jesus comes, they get this shock. Because we don't see warrior God. We see a God who earned a completely different title. There was a nickname given to Jesus by the Pharisees that's one of my favorite titles of his in all of Scripture. They didn't mean it as a compliment. It was actually a cut down that the Pharisees gave him, and Jesus quoted it back later and said he called himself the friend of sinners. You heard that? Jesus, friend of sinners. Why? Why would they call him that? Well, we could talk about Mark 2, that tells us that there were a bunch of tax collectors who were just this corrupt government workers, constantly taking money from people that were followers of Jesus. It said that many tax collectors and other sinners were followers of his. We could look at John 4. John 4 is the very first time that Jesus tells anybody that he's the Messiah. You know who he chooses? He chooses a woman. Women had very, very low social standing at the time. Matter of fact, there were limitations on who could talk, when you could talk, what you could do. Jesus goes out of his way. He chooses a woman. He chooses a Samaritan woman. The Samaritans were this ethnically looked at. If there was racial tension, it was anti-Samaritan. So the Jews thought they were here and the Samaritans were way down here. Jesus chooses a Samaritan woman, not just a Samaritan woman. He chooses this woman who's out at the well. Without going into that scripture, he chooses this woman who's out at the well, either because she's a social outcast or a prostitute. We're not sure which. And that's the person Jesus chooses to reveal for the very first time, I'm the Messiah. I'm the one they've been talking about. Friend of sinners. We could talk about Luke 7, the prostitute who interrupts Jesus' dinner to anoint his feet, and he doesn't stop her. We could talk about Luke 5, when he's asked, why do you eat with sinners? And Jesus responds to them, it's not the healthy who need a doctor, it's the sick. I came to seek and to save the lost. Jesus did not come as this Old Testament warrior that the Jews thought was coming. He doesn't just sit on his high and exalted throne from a distance and cast lightning bolts like I think Grandpa Mike paints him to be. I've done too much in this life. We see Jesus Christ, friend of sinners, laid out in front of us. We see his heart laid open wide. It was hard for the Jews. It's also hard for us to deal with this kind of love. I want to read you a passage tonight. I'm not really teaching tonight. Tonight's going to be a little bit different kind of night. Tonight's more about stories. And so I know I've often got scripture on the screen and stuff tonight. I want to read you a simple story, and I just want you to let it wash over you. Okay? Let's not get into the details. I just want you to hear the story. This is coming out of Luke 15. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. And this made the Pharisees and teachers of the religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. So Jesus told them this story. Okay, Jesus knows exactly what's going on, so he launches into a story for their benefit to confront it directly. This is what he says. If a man has 100 sheep, and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one that's lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. And when he arrives, he'll call together his friends and his neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me! I found my lost sheep!" In the same way, there's more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. I won't go into the other two stories in Luke 15. I could, but just for sake of time, I won't tonight. Okay? But he tells the first story about a lost sheep. He tells the second story about a lost coin. He tells the third story about a lost son, the parable of the prodigal son. All of them have the same theme. Something lost, an owner who cares deeply about it, rejoicing when it's found. What Jesus is trying to beat into them is this idea that God loves us, the lost. We are the lost. And he comes after them ruthlessly. That was Jesus' mission here on earth. That mission is released to the church in Acts, and it's still our mission here tonight, in this room, on this campus, in this town. If I say that I love him, I have to love them, meaning you and my family and my neighbor. Two greatest commandments: love God and love your neighbor. And tonight, what I really want to hear, what I want you to hear, more than my voice. A few weeks ago, Robbie Osenga sent me a video of a talk that Louis Giglio did a long time ago. I have never played a video on a Monday night. It feels like cheating to me to have someone else teach. And so I was going to tell Louis' story, giving him credit, giving him proper credit, of course. I wasn't just going to steal it. But I can't. I can't do it justice because he can tell it in a first-hand way that I can't. But it's a story of you. It's a story about campus. It's a story about two girls who are trying to find their way. And it's important for us tonight. It bears this part: Jesus, friend of sinners. And so I'm going to let him do the teaching on that. Let's watch.
I want to share a little bit of a story with you. Some of you know Ashley, who is the person I'm going to tell you a little bit about, but I want to share this from first-hand, first-person university student at the University of Florida, okay? One of the top 5 party schools in America, as you know. Let me give you a little bit about background on Ashley if you don't know her story. Ashley, her parents got divorced when she was young. She kind of sided with her dad, who never remarried, had no other children, and they kind of didn't want anything to do with God. They very much didn't want anything to do with God. They didn't like church, Christians, God, or anything about that. They kind of hung out together. Mom got remarried. Mom was a believer. She remarried a believer. They had a son, so Ashley has a stepbrother. He's a believer. They're sort of the Christians. Ashley and Dad over here are sort of the non-Christians. And Ashley's living in Florida with her boyfriend. They share an apartment together. And about the middle to the end of the fall semester of her senior year, she goes to class. She comes home from class because she feels sick. And when she gets home from class, she finds her boyfriend in bed with another girl from school. And they have a blow-up of massive proportion. She kicks him out of her apartment and puts a notice up at the school saying, "I need a roommate for the last semester of college, for my final semester at the University of Florida." And a girl figures out, "I need to save money because I'm getting married, so this looks like a good living situation." So she signs up and she gets this new roommate. And that's where we pick up the story. I have permission, by the way, to read this journal, so don't freak out on me, okay? I have permission to read it, and if you don't know Ashley's story, you understand why it's okay in a couple of minutes. But I'm just going to jump in on January 7th, okay? And only as a university student could write this. It says, all caps, "Happy final semester of college, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point." And then she begins this story. Can I just read a tad of this to you? It's a pretty amazing journey. Okay, so M, that's his initial, is officially out of the apartment, and I'm so glad he's gone. Though I've loved him for the last 2 years, and I still do love him so much. But I'm renting out one of the rooms because I really do not want to live alone. I rented it before winter break to this quiet girl named Kristen. She seems sweet, but turns out she's a fruitcake. She's into all that God And I know we've got a mixed crowd here today, SHIT, and I don't want to jump around this, so if I hope that you'll just give me grace on that, and if your kids are in the room, that you'll help them understand that. But this is real. This is a real person, okay? And if that bothers you in some way that she would say that word, I know none of you would ever say that word, but if it bothered you to some degree that she did, I'm sorry. She is not with God, not walking with God. She's into all that God blank. But I'm pretty sure she's more wacko than Mom, Jacob, that's her stepbrother, or Jeff, her stepdad. I asked her what she did over winter break. She said she went home and then came back early to go to a conference in Atlanta. I made the mistake of asking her what kind of conference it was. Apparently, it was the greatest thing she's ever done. She said that God really changed her at this Passion conference. Well, I do not link passion and God, but whatever. She said she got to worship God with over 20,000 college students. So yeah, that was the best thing she's ever done. She needs to get out more, a whole lot more. But so that's the new fruitcake. Jeremy is her guy, and that boy hates me. We worked on a group project together last year for Children's Lit, and he made it clear that he thinks he's better than me. He'd get along well with my mom. He's a little holier than thou Bible thumper. I really hope fruitcake's not as crazy as he is, otherwise it's going to be a long, blanking semester. School this semester is going to be a breeze. I'm taking 4 classes and 3 are electives. That was smart planning on my part. I'm going to party like it's 1999 this semester and have the time of my life before I can no longer hide behind the fact that I am in college. LOL. That means laugh out loud. We'll be back later. 5 days go by. Em and I are back together. Well, kind of. I do love him so much. He came over last night. We hung out with J and C and C and F. We were all just watching, drinking and watching the movie. The lights were out, and of course, Em and I quit watching the movie right after the credits. We were amazing together. He did not say anything about us being officially together again, but he did spend the night. He said he had a class, and so do I, so I have to run. Skip a few days forward. Okay, so it's been a few days since I've been here. I've been so busy. I went running today. I was running past one of the buildings in the complex, and I see Em's car, and then he comes out of, names this girl's apartment. I just kept going. He had on the same clothes he had on when I saw him at C's house last night. He told me last night he still needed a little time to figure out what he wants, so I was like, that's cool. But there's only one reason he would sleep at that blank's place last night. I cannot believe he slept with that blank. I ran an extra 3 miles and finally came home dripping in sweat. Mind you, it's 40 degrees outside. I'd already taken off my jacket. I came in and went straight to the kitchen. Walking past Kristen, pulled a beer out of the fridge and ice cream out of the freezer. I jumped on the counter, drank my beer, and ate my ice cream and just cried. Krista asked me if I was okay. I said, blank, no, I'm not okay. Fruitcake then grabbed another container of ice cream out of the freezer and sat down at the table. Why the H-E-double-L that we have so much ice cream in January? Seriously, there are 3 more containers in there. I really wanted her just to leave me alone, but since she was not going to do that, I asked her what was wrong with her. I mean, she obviously does not drink. She does not go to clubs. She asked me what I meant, so I asked her why she was the way she was. And all she said was God. She said it was her goal to live a life that Christ would be proud of. I laughed. I couldn't help it. But the fruitcake was serious. I asked her if she's ever slept with Jeremy, the guy she's dating, and she said no, when she gets married, she'll be a virgin. Wow, those are still around? She said they've been dating 3 years. I've not dated a guy for 3 weeks and not slept with him. I cannot imagine 3 years without sex. The girl is a fruitcake. She then said it was because she had a personal relationship with God that she was saved. I do have to admit she's different from the Christians I know, but she's still a fruitcake. But then she asked me why I was so upset, and I told her about Em wanting more time apart, then seeing him come out of this other girl's apartment. I cannot believe how much one guy can mess me up. I told her about all the blank he's put me through, and how he used me and cheated on me. And you know what? She did not give me all the Christian crap that Mom always gives me if I mention him to her. Fruitcake just sat there and listened to me vent. She did not criticize me when I was done. All she did was say, wow. And she said, Ashley, I'm really sorry that he's done that to you. Then she did it. She asked me if she could pray for me. I laughed, jumped off the counter, and said, I need a shower. After my shower, Krista was gone, and I just sat on the couch and cried. I love him and I hate him. How is that possible? I should only hate him. I cannot figure Krista out in her little Bible-thumping world. You know, she actually reads her Bible, like a lot. I see it move around the apartment from the kitchen to the living room and even to the office. I should be the enemy to her, the one she wants nothing to do with, but she does not seem to think she's better than me. It also seems that this God and Jesus stuff are real to her. I do not understand the fruitcake at all. January 18th, I won't read you the entry, but just the first line's hilarious. The fruitcake and I went running together today. I cannot believe she actually kept up. Who knew? Christians could run. Amazing thought. January 19th. Okay, so I have to find out what makes Krista so different from every Christian I've ever known. She does not look down her nose at me. She's really nice to me and acts as if she just wants to be my friend. It does not make sense. No one ever just wants to be Ashley's friend without getting something in return, especially not a Christian. God is not for people like me. And Jacob's supposed to be the only Christian who does not judge me, and that's only because he's my brother. January 21st comes, 14 days have gone by. Okay, the day I did it. This morning, Fruitcake and I were in the kitchen, and I asked her why this God stuff was so important to her. She told me it was because he truly loved her, and he was her closest friend. So I asked her what she meant by that, and she said exactly what I said. She said, God is all about love, and God's love is the greatest thing ever. So then I was like, why do you live all perfect like you do? She laughed and said she was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but she was forgiven. She said she was at this Passion conference, the 20,000 people with no lives thing in Atlanta. She said she was reminded that God loves not only her, but also the rest of the world. He sent his son to die for us all. Basically, the Easter story. Mom used to make me go to church all the time. I hated it. I quit going when I was in high school and able to stay at Dad's place all the time. See, God is not for people like me. God is for people like Fruitcake, Jeremy, and their friends. I am way too screwed up for God to care at all about me. Fruitcake had to go to work, so we had to end our conversation. She said she would love to talk some more when she got home tonight, and I told her maybe. Well, after she left, I was on the couch when M came over and apologized for blank. But as he said, we were not together anymore. But he did say when he saw me running away, he realized what a big mistake he made. Said he loves me so much and I'm the only one he wants to be with. I really want to believe him. We've been through so much together, but can I forgive him for sleeping with that blank again? Besides, he's not going anywhere in life. He's a professional student. I asked him to leave. I told him I could not do this again. I am moving on with my life. He left and I cried and cried for a very long time. I do not need first, middle, and last name. I can live life on my own. Besides, I can get any guy I want. Who needs him? Page turns and the color changes, but it says still January 21st. She continues, okay, so I'm back again. S-H-I-T, it has been a crazy day. Crazy enough to make me come back here twice on one day. So no actual homework got done today. I cried, shopped, cried, ate, cried, ran, cried, and ate again. So you get the point, there was a lot of crying today. I did not answer my cell literally the 17 times he called me today. Well, I'm on the couch when Fruitcake got home. She sat down and asked me if I wanted some ice cream. I could not help but laugh. We sat there in silence for a really long time, and then I asked her how much God was going to punish her for living with a screw-up like me. She just looked at me and said, Ashley, God really is not like that at all. He really does love us. I told her I knew all about this God stuff, and I was way far too gone and too screwed up to even think about God's kind of love. I am not a religious nutcase like my mom or her family. As much as I love them, they're crazy. She just said, okay, you need to hear Louis talk. He's better at this than I am. So I asked who Louis was, and she said he kind of headed up the Passion conferences. So she pulls a couple of DVDs off of her shelf in the unit. She said they were just Louis talking. They were sermons on DVD. I could not believe that Fruitcake had sermons on DVD. But I agreed to watch anyway, not like I had anything better to do. So the first one we watch is called Indescribable. And this Louis guy talked about God differently than I've ever heard before. It was kind of weird. He made it sound like God was for everyone. He made it sound like the God that created the universe really cared about all of us. Then when that was over, Fruitcake asked me what I thought. I told her I did not buy it. I told her that God is not for people like me. She asked me if I wanted to watch another talk, a.k.a. Preacher Man. I just said, whatever. Again, I had nothing better to do. So we watched one called Passport. In this one, Louis talked about how Christians did not have to hope for the best in the end. That people did not have to do enough good stuff to get to heaven. It made sense. Pretty weird, huh? Then Louis started talking about grace and how God is a loving and forgiving God and that he wants to forgive us. It all made sense. I could hardly breathe though. Seriously, I was sitting and oxygen was not flowing through my lungs the way it should. The DVD ended and the Fruitcake just looked up at me. I was crying and trying to regain control of my lungs and gather my thoughts. I asked her if what he said was true, that because of grace, God could love me, that God could even love the screw-ups. She said, yes. It sounds so easy, but all we have to do is ask Christ to save us, and he will. I've heard of salvation my whole life, but never agreed with the whole deal of all I have to do is ask and everything would be okay. But then Fruitcake explained that is where grace comes into play. She said it was because God is such a gracious and loving God that he forgives, that Christ took care of everything on the cross. And he did not just die, but most important, he rose again, Easter. And that Christianity is the only religion where we get to worship a God that has walked the earth, died, and rose again. So there on my couch in my living room, where a lot of SHIT is going on, I decided I wanted what Fruitcake had. That I wanted what Jacob, Jeremy, Mom, and Jeff all had. I wanted grace. So I asked Jesus in my heart. I asked him to forgive me for all the mistakes I had made. I told God that I knew I had messed up a lot, but if he would take me, I wanted to be a Christian. So there you have it. I am a Christian. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders and I can breathe again. I feel
I'm not going to do the end of that video justice. Is the laptop completely dead, show? All right. Then I'm going to try. I'll post that online so you can see the official Louis V. Leo end. But let me talk to you about what happens there. Because Ashley, in that moment, I love the incredible honesty that comes from him actually reading out of her journals. And you guys, that's one of the cool things about this too, is he's talking about right now. I mean, if you notice, that first journal entry that she writes is the first day of school, that she's back in the spring semester of her senior year. And so she goes through that senior year, she goes through the end of her senior year, and she's writing in there. He skips forward a few journal entries to where her dad has agreed to buy her a new BMW as a graduation present. I know a lot of you have that waiting for you right now. Agrees to buy her a new BMW, and so she's writing journal entries about how she's going up to see him, and they're going out together as a family, and she doesn't make it home. She doesn't make it home because there's a bad traffic accident, and they cannot get her bleeding stopped before she reaches the hospital. And she doesn't make it very far past her senior year, second year semester. And Louis, through that process, got to know their family, got to know her dad, her stepdad, and they all became friends. And eventually, they gave Louis that journal as a gift. And so we want you to know just how meaningful this last 6 months have been, the last 3 months have been for her and her journey. And you guys, this is what comes out of this for me. Because some of you in the room tonight, as you hear him unpack that story about Ashley and Kristen, you relate to Ashley. You're kind of the Grandpa Mike of the story, where you're like, I've got so much that has happened in my life that it's really hard to imagine a God that could wade in and forgive that kind of stuff for me. There's some of you in the room that relate to Kristen, where you're like, I know the grace of Jesus, I know the grace of Jesus, and I want that to influence other people, but I don't always know how. Can I give you an encouragement tonight, whichever side of that aisle that you're standing on, that God's grace is for you, and it flows through you into other people. Christian, if you're in the room tonight, hear me with this, all right? You cannot love people that you don't know, and you cannot know people that you're not around, which means that if you're only around Christians, that kind of love will never flow out beyond the borders of the church. And if you're here tonight and you relate more to the other side, and you're like, you know what, I'm not sure I've ever actually trusted that kind of grace. I'm not sure that I've ever surrendered my life over to Christ, where I know where I stand in eternity, then that grace is real. It's real. Well, we get to experience that tonight. Gabby's going to be baptized tonight, which we're super excited about. And I'm assuming you have family here, or you brought some non-traditional students. Either way, it's great. We're glad you guys are here tonight. And we get to experience a representation of that. We believe that baptism was a gift that Jesus left the church to celebrate that marker. It's like a wedding ceremony. Death, burial, and resurrection. That's the picture of baptism. It's simple. It's simple. And it's just a beautiful picture of what it means to say, my life is surrendered to the Lord. It belongs to Him. But I believe that God has us in this place at this time for a reason. You were not put on this planet so that you could finish out high school. You were not put on this planet so that you could get your degree in college. You were not put on this planet so that you could just start a family or retire or you name it. In all of those spaces, you were put on this planet for a purpose. There's a God behind it who is real and who matters. And that grace calls to us. And I want to land this semester there. Let's pray. Jesus, friend of sinners, thank you for your grace and your mercy. Thank you, Jesus, that you knew all of the score that was against us, all of the debt that we had racked up with our sin before you went to the cross. And you paid it anyway. God, thank you for loving the people in this room just as we are, not as we should be, not all dressed up and clean and pretty, but you love us at our worst. Thank you for that. For those who are having a really difficult time in this room accepting it, Jesus, I ask you just meet them in that space where they're at. So the best we have to offer, Jesus, is a simple thank you. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your mercy. I pray that that wouldn't be just made real in our lives, that we wouldn't hoard that and keep it and hold on to it, but that it would flow freely. Whether it's through the Dream Project, whether it's through the long haul, God, whether it's in these students' apartments, whether it's where they work, whether it's in the gym, God, in the classroom, I just pray that all of those spaces you make holy. And that you would do a work this semester we could not have done on our own. Transform us, Jesus. In your name, amen.
You guys can stand. Guys, as Ben read earlier in Luke 15, Jesus tells that story about if a shepherd has a herd of sheep and 99 stay, but one wanders away, will the shepherd not go and find that sheep and then rejoice when he finds it? The story of the lost coin and the prodigal son, that same thing. If we run away, if we're lost, he's going to find us. He's going to come after us. He's not going to leave us. That's what we're going to sing about. We're not going to put any words up just yet. You know this part. Sing this with us.
Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I found peace I don't deserve it, still you give yourself.
like 20 minutes. We will see you over there. Thanks for coming.
Sometimes it's hard to see the end from the beginning. I try so hard to understand, but I keep going, never knowing where this journey will lead. But you say, don't look down, keep your eyes on me. Just walk on water with me. Don't pushing me on. And even when it's cold outside, I'll keep moving on, no matter what it takes. Then you say, don't look down, keep your eyes on me. Just walk on water, walk on water with me. Don't look down to the raging seas. Just walk on water, walk on water with me. Walk on water with me. Even in the crashing waves, even when I'm so afraid, I won't worry, 'cause I know that you'll be there for me. Don't look down, keep your eyes on me. Walk on water, walk on water with me. Don't look down, don't look to the raging, see the raging seas. Walk on water, walk on water with me. Don't look down to the raging seas. Just walk on water, walk on water with me. Against all hope, I will believe. Through raging wars, you fight for peace. You have always made a way, a path of beauty you create. And I know your love is strong enough to meet me where I am. Hallelujah, you will never let me down. Hallelujah, you will never let me down. Your hope runs through my veins. Your love, it paves the way. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
can do anything. I can do all things, 'cause it's you.